Once, this island ruled the waves, an empire so vast the sun never set upon it. But even the brightest dawn fades. For centuries, Britain's reach stretched across continents, a global network of trade, conquest, and influence. But empires are living things. They rise and they fall. At its height, London was the capital of the world, a nerve center of power and ambition. But by the mid-20th century, the empire was dissolving, leaving behind questions no crown could answer. Between 1947 and 1997, one by one, Britain's dominions became independent. A global retreat. The end of empire wasn't a single event. It was a slow, quiet unraveling, political, cultural, emotional. Britain had survived war, but victory brought exhaustion, not glory. The war had cost more than lives. It had cost certainty, the idea of what Britain was. As American dollars rebuilt Europe, a new superpower rose and Britain learned to adapt. A young queen was crowned, symbol of renewal. But even she could not stop the tide of transformation. As colonies gained independence, the red that once colored the map began to fade. The empire had been an idea as much as a reality, a belief in destiny, order, and progress. Transition to 1960s Britain, black and white crowds, mods on scooters, immigration from Caribbean and South Asia. The Commonwealth wasn't just political, it was human. People came seeking opportunity, and found a nation redefining itself. From empire's ashes, a new Britain began to rise, more global, more complex, more divided. The 1950s and 60s were turbulent. The illusion of world power cracked under the weight of reality. Leaders began to acknowledge it, the world was shifting, and Britain could no longer command it. The question became not how to rule, but how to remain relevant. Reinvention began in unexpected places, in design, in music, in technology. The empire of land gave way to an empire of ideas. By the 1970s, Britain was no longer the center of an empire. It had become a crossroads of the world. But questions of identity lingered. Was Britain European, or something apart? The ghosts of empire never truly left. They became part of the national conversation. New generations rejected the nostalgia. They wanted a Britain defined not by empire, but by expression. Yet, as industries collapsed, another identity crisis began. Who would Britain be without its working heartlands? The loss of industry echoed the loss of empire, familiar, painful, and unfinished. Britain had traded territory for technology, power for presence. But at what cost? From the fall of empire came the rise of something new, a nation still searching for its place. This is where the next chapter begins. The empire had ended, but the story of Britain was far from over. By the late 20th century, Britain had changed beyond recognition. The empire was gone, but its echoes lived on, in trade, in technology, in the English language itself. The world was entering a new age, one of silicon, speed, and screens. And Britain was ready to adapt. In the 1980s, politics turned toward the market. Industry gave way to innovation, and finance became the new empire. The city became Britain's beating heart, money replacing machinery, algorithms replacing assembly lines. But not all revolutions were financial. In classrooms, a generation was learning to code, the seeds of a digital future. Britain's story had always been about invention, from steam to silicon, from railways to the World Wide Web. And fittingly, it was a British mind that connected the planet again, this time, not through empire, but through the internet. A new kind of empire emerged, one built not on land, but on light. And while technology connected the world, Britain's voice and culture became louder than ever. Bands such as Blur, Oasis, Spice Girls took the world by storm. Cool Britannia was the vibe. A new political optimism swept the nation, confident, global, digital. Britain was no longer an empire looking outward. It had become a world within itself. From the Caribbean to the Indian subcontinent, from Africa to Eastern Europe, the world had come to Britain. Immigration reshaped not just the workforce, but the soul of the country. Diversity became the new strength. Integration deepened. Britain was now part of a larger European project, a new kind of unity, or a new set of tensions. But prosperity was uneven. For every rising skyline, another factory fell silent. In the shadows of progress, communities that once powered the empire felt left behind. The 21st century brought another shift. Britain now lived online. Influence measured in clicks, not colonies. The empire of trade had become the empire of data, invisible, instant, everywhere. From fintech to AI, British innovation found new frontiers, not in territory but in technology. For the first time in generations, Britain wasn't leading through force, but through ideas. Science and creativity became the new exports, from Dyson to DeepMind, from Oxford to design houses shaping tomorrow. The British Empire had been physical. This one was digital, decentralized, and borderless. Ask a Londoner today where they're from, and you might hear 5 countries in one sentence. This was Britain reborn, global, connected, restless. For a while, it seemed the island had found its rhythm again, a fusion of past and future. But progress has a price. When the global economy stumbled, Britain was reminded how fragile reinvention could be. Inequality widened. The nation that had once built fairness into its fabric now struggled with its reflection. 2 Britons emerged, one global, fast, digital, the other slow, rooted, uncertain. Every nation reinvents itself, but reinvention always comes with a question. What is lost and what remains? The empire had become memory. The future was being written in code. Britain, a nation of contradictions, once the center of the world, now a mirror of it. Wealth and want, pride and protest. The legacy of empire meets the reality of modern life. In Westminster, the voices of empire echo, tradition battling change. Leaders promise transformation, but Britain's politics remain a struggle between nostalgia and necessity. The question lingers: how do you modernize a system built on the weight of history? From empire came diversity, millions who built, rebuilt, and redefined what Britishness means. But identity is fragile. The more Britain changes, the more some fight to preserve what they believe it was. Perhaps the future isn't one flag, but many. Prosperity clusters in cities. Beyond them, echoes of factories long silent. Britain's divide isn't just north and south, it's hope and fatigue. The old industries built the empire. The new ones build algorithms. In its contradictions, Britain finds its strength. Tradition and technology. Heritage and reinvention. The empire is memory. The evolution alive. Long before empires, before kings and borders, there was just this island, and the people who called it home. Every age rewrote what Britain meant, a story of power, of faith, of discovery. Now that story is written by millions, diverse, restless, connected. Britain's influence no longer rides on ships, it travels at the speed of data. Where empire once extracted, now innovation creates. Knowledge is the new power. But the question remains, will this new power unite or divide? From Shakespeare to Stormzy, the Beatles to Adele, culture has always been Britain's quiet revolution. The world still listens, still watches, still borrows Britain's words, style, and sound. Power today looks like imagination, and Britain still has plenty of that. Borders define geography, but not identity. The empire divided the world. Its legacy now is to understand how to bring it back together. Britain's idea has evolved, not a command, but a conversation. Every generation must answer, what does Britain stand for now? Maybe it's not about empire or decline. Maybe it's about endurance, the power to adapt. Because Britain was never just a place on a map. It was, and still is, an idea.